I worshipped my girlfriend and thought I knew her better than anyone. Wedding, house, kids. Everything was planned out. But one sleepless night, I found her secret diary. What I read made me pack my bags and vanish without a single word. My name's Ethan Wilson. I'm 32, and I'm a structural engineer at a construction firm in Portland, Oregon. My job's about designing bridges and skyscrapers, where every bolt, every beam has to be perfect, or it all comes crashing down. I make decent money, enough for a nice house in a quiet neighborhood with a view of pine trees, a new pickup truck, and a couple of vacations a year. Last summer, I went to Yellowstone, staring at geysers and bison, feeling like the world made sense. Every morning, I jog along the Willamette River, breathing in the damp air that smells of earth and moss. Evenings, I hit the gym, where the heavy barbell drowns out the noise of the world. My life's a tight schedule. Work, exercise, plans for the future. I always thought if I kept everything under control, chaos wouldn't sneak in. Man, was I wrong. 4 years ago, Sarah Miller walked into my life. She's 29, an interior designer, and she was like a ray of sunshine on a gloomy Oregon day. Bright, with a laugh that rang like a bell, and warm honey-colored eyes that melted away my worries. We met at a modern art exhibit downtown. I was there by chance, dragged along by a friend, staring at some abstract painting, red and blue streaks that made no sense, trying to figure out why people cared. Sarah walked up, her heels clicking on the wood floor, and teased me about how serious I looked. Her joke broke the ice, and we talked all night. About art, life, her dream of designing a beachfront house, and my bridges that connect people. 2 years later, I proposed to her at the Multnomah Falls Lookout. The wind tossed her hair as she hugged me, and I felt on top of the world. The wedding was set for a month from then. I could see our future, a suburban house with a fireplace, 2 kids, a Labrador running in the yard. But fate, it turns out, was laughing at me. Looking back, I see how blindly I believed in that perfect picture. Sarah seemed like everything I wanted. Smart, beautiful, with a spark that made every day brighter. I missed the little things, her long evening phone calls, her vague answers when I asked about work. I thought it was just fatigue, her creative chaos, part of who she was. I was building bridges in real life and in our relationship, blind to how they were cracking under the weight of her secrets. It started with something small. I couldn't sleep one night. Maybe it was intuition whispering, or maybe the wedding stress, picking a venue, arguing over flowers, endless guest lists, was getting to me. I lay in our bedroom, staring at the ceiling where moonlight cast soft patches. Sarah slept beside me, her breathing steady, almost soothing. But this gnawing unease grew inside me, like a shadow I couldn't explain. Around 2 a.m., her phone on the nightstand lit up, the screen glowing in the dark room. I wasn't going to snoop. We had each other's passwords. No big deal. We trusted each other. Or so I thought. The screen flashed again. Messages from Caitlin, her friend, kept coming in. My heart started racing, and my fingers reached for the phone, like they had a mind of their own. I unlocked it. Her birthday was the password. Nothing sneaky about it. In her messages, I found a group chat called Sarah's Girls, decked out with heart, champagne, and ring emojis. They were talking about her bachelorette party in Miami from a week ago. Sarah had come back exhausted, with faint shadows under her eyes, her skin paler than usual. I chalked it up to the flight. Too many cocktails, dancing till dawn. She'd been colder since then, less touchy, her hugs feeling mechanical. I blamed wedding stress, convincing myself it was temporary. I opened the chat, and my world fell apart. The messages weren't about partying. Caitlin was asking if Sarah really hooked up with some guy at the club. Emily, her sister, was cheering her on, saying Miami was a different world, that it'd stay there. Sarah begged them to keep quiet so I wouldn't find out. My stomach twisted like I'd been punched. I scrolled, hands shaking. They talked about how Sarah disappeared with a guy named Lucas in the club's VIP section, how she left with him and didn't come back to the hotel until morning. Her friends laughed, helping her cover it up. This wasn't just flirting or dancing, it was betrayal. Cold, calculated betrayal. I sat in the dark, scrolling until my fingers went numb. Every line cut deeper. Lucas wasn't a random fling. They'd been talking before the bachelorette party. Sarah added him on social media, messaged about their fun meetup, thanked him for the night. My blood pounded in my ears, my chest tight with a growing lump. Worse than the cheating were her friends' words, calling me sweet but boring. Sarah agreed, saying I was predictable. She wrote that it was her last taste of freedom before the wedding, assuring them I'd never know. I turned off the phone and stared into the void. Anger mixed with pain, but no tears came. Just a coldness that gripped my heart. I thought back to her return from Miami. She hugged me at the airport, but her eyes avoided mine. She said she was tired, that the bachelorette party was too much. I believed her, cooked dinner, poured wine to help her unwind. Now I saw the lie in every move. The way she checked her phone when she thought I wasn't looking. The way she smiled to hide the truth. I felt like an idiot, building sandcastles while she tore them down behind my back. Morning came, and I hadn't slept. Sarah woke up clueless. I lied about work stress keeping me up, my voice sounding foreign. She smiled, touched my cheek, and went to the bathroom. I watched her put on makeup, sip her latte, laugh at her phone. Was she texting Lucas? Were her friends joking about me? I fought the urge to grab her phone. I kissed her goodbye, her perfume, a Christmas gift from me, burning my nose. A scent I once loved now felt like poison. When she left, I started digging. Anger, despair, and a faint hope I was wrong drove me. I tore through the bedroom, drawers, shelves, boxes of her sketches. Then I found it. A leather diary with her name, tucked under old papers. I opened it, and every page sliced through me. She'd written about Lucas 6 months ago. They met in Seattle on a project, designing his company's office. They flirted, texted, called late at night while I thought she was working. She described him as wild, unpredictable, unlike me, reliable but ordinary. He made her feel alive. Miami wasn't a one-off. She planned to meet him, nervous but excited, worried I'd notice. She wrote about doubting the wedding, calling me too good for her dark side. She compared me to Lucas, and I came up short. I read until dark, the words blurring. Details of their meetings, the club, his hotel room, poisoned me. She wrote about how he looked at her, how she was drawn to him, how she fought guilt but gave in. I wasn't just betrayed, I was deceived, humiliated, made a fallback option. She smiled at me, planned our wedding, slept beside me, all while hiding this. I remembered moments that seemed innocent, her late nights at work, calls she took in another room, how she brushed me off when I asked if everything was okay. I blamed myself for pushing, thinking I wasn't giving her enough space. Now I saw how she manipulated me, using my trust. The diary didn't just reveal cheating, it showed her inner world, cold and selfish, where I was just a piece of her plan, not the center of her heart. I closed the diary, but the images lingered. I saw her with him, heard her laugh in that group chat, felt like a blind fool. I was angry, not at her, but at myself. How did I miss her coldness, her long calls, her vague answers? Why did I believe in her love? I sat on the edge of the bed, gripping the diary until my knuckles turned white. The decision came on its own. I couldn't stay. Not for her, but for me. I didn't wait for her. I didn't want a scene. I packed my stuff, clothes, laptop, gym bag, books, left everything we shared. The couch, TV, dishes, artwork. None of it mattered. I wanted a clean break. I called the wedding planner, canceled the ceremony, Lost $5,000 in deposits. Pocket change compared to the wound in my soul. I took screenshots of the messages and diary, uploaded them to the cloud in case she lied later. Called a cab and left for a motel an hour outside Portland, in a small town at the foot of the Cascade Mountains, where the silence was deafening. By evening, my phone was blowing up. Sarah, Emily, Caitlin, mutual friends. I put it on silent, watching the notifications pile up. Sarah's texts were frantic, full of questions, begging me to reply. I didn't read them. I only texted my dad, telling him Sarah cheated and the wedding was off. He suggested talking to her, finding an explanation. But I refused. I didn't want her excuses or tears. I wanted to disappear. The motel was old, smelling of dampness and cheap soap. I worked out in a gym that reeked of chlorine and rust, swam in a cold pool, staring at stars through murky glass, watched basketball but couldn't focus. The diary haunted me. Sarah with Lucas, her words about my predictability, her friends' laughter. I felt hollow, like part of me had been ripped out. Lying on the stiff bed, listening to the creaky fan, I thought about the past. Our first trip to the Oregon coast, walking the beach, collecting shells. She laughed when a wave soaked her jeans. Back then, I thought it was forever. Now I knew it was an illusion. The anger grew, not at Sarah, but at myself. How did I miss the cracks? Why did I ignore her distance? I built bridges, but I didn't see my own collapsing. I decided I wouldn't let her rewrite the story. I left to take back control. The next day, Caitlin texted. She said Sarah was a mess, confused by my disappearance, and begged me to come back. I replied that Sarah knew why I left. Caitlin called, but I hung up. She sent a long message, insisting I got it wrong. Sarah was drunk in Miami. Lucas took advantage. It was a one-time mistake. She pleaded with me not to ruin our future over one night. Anger flared. Caitlin was there, knew everything, laughed in that chat, called me gullible. Now she was defending Sarah? Or herself? Her words made me think. What if Sarah convinced everyone it was a mistake? Our friends, my family. I opened the cloud, reviewed the screenshots, reread the diary. It wasn't a mistake. Months of flirting, a planned meetup, lies to my face. Caitlin was covering her own tracks. I sent her a screenshot of her calling me gullible with a short, "Don't lie." She went silent. But I knew it wasn't over. Sarah and her friends would keep pushing. I remembered Caitlin at our dinners, joking, calling me the perfect groom. Now I saw the fakeness in her smile. She was part of the betrayal, egging Sarah on, laughing at me. I felt trapped in their game. I decided I wouldn't let them manipulate me. I left not out of weakness, but strength. Still doubts crept in. Did I do the right thing, cutting it off without a word? Should I have let her explain? I pushed those thoughts away. The diary spoke for her. A day later, Linda, Sarah's mom, texted. Her message was long, emotional. Sarah had told her side, a drunken mistake, too much alcohol, but she loved me. Linda begged me to meet, to give Sarah a chance. She wrote about Sarah's sleepless nights, her guilt, about Tom, her dad, disappointed but hopeful for us. Anger surged. Why was I supposed to fix what Sarah broke? I replied that I knew the truth. Not one night, but months of lies. I hinted at proof without mentioning the diary. Linda promised to talk to Sarah, but I sensed she didn't want to believe it. Linda and Tom had been kind to me. They invited me for dinners. Tom taught me to grill steaks, showed off his old Mustang in the garage. Now they felt like strangers, defending Sarah. It hurt, though not as deeply. I remembered their house, the smell of apple pie, laughter at the table. I thought I'd become part of their family. Now I saw them turning a blind eye to the truth. I called Noah, my friend from high school who owns a coffee shop, told him about Linda, the diary, Caitlin. He offered me a place to stay. I agreed, feeling the motel was suffocating, packed my bags, and drove to Portland, breathing the air of freedom. On the road, I thought about Sarah. Her image, laughing, hair blowing in the wind, shifted to the cold figure from the diary. She wasn't who I thought she was, but part of me still clung to the past. I remembered her cooking breakfast on weekends, us watching movies, curled up together. Those memories cut deeper than her lies. I knew I had to let go, but I didn't know how. The second day, Sarah called dozens of times. Tired of her persistence, I picked up. Her voice, hoarse from crying, was full of pleas. She didn't understand why I left, begged me to explain, to meet. I said I knew everything. She denied it, swore I was wrong, said she loved me. Her words slid past me. She asked me to come over, but I refused. Told her to check her messages and hung up. I sent her the screenshots, the group chat where she bragged about Lucas, diary pages about her wedding doubts, her texts with Lucas where he made her heart race. I added, "You said it all yourself." Then I turned off my phone. She called again, left voicemails, texted. I didn't read them. I knew what she'd say. She was drunk. It didn't mean anything. She loved me. The diary told the truth. She chose him for months while I planned our future. Sitting in the motel, watching the rain, I felt the pain turn to resolve. I wasn't going back. I remembered her voice when we planned the wedding. She laughed, picking napkin colors, arguing about music. Now I saw the fakeness. She played a role while planning meetups with someone else. I felt like a puppet in her show. I decided she wouldn't get the final act. Leaving was my choice, my way to take back myself. 2 days later, Emily, Sarah's sister, texted. She said Sarah was falling apart, not eating, scared she'd hurt herself. I replied coldly, "Call a doctor." Emily begged me to talk, but I refused. I wasn't her savior, not after her betrayal. Emily surprised me. She sent screenshots of Sarah's post-Miami texts with Lucas. He wasn't a one-time thing. Sarah missed him, wanted to meet again. Lucas was vague, but didn't cut contact. Emily found it on Sarah's unlocked phone, deciding not to cover for her. Shock hit me. Emily, who laughed at me in the group chat, was now exposing her sister. Guilt? Manipulation? I saved the screenshots, didn't reply. Called Noah, told him everything. He invited me over. I agreed, drove to the city, feeling a weight lift. On the road, I thought about Emily. Her group chat messages stung, but now she was on my side. Or was she? I remembered her at a friend's wedding, dancing with Sarah, calling me her future brother-in-law. Now I saw her two-faced nature. She knew about Lucas, encouraged Sarah. Why turn on her now? I felt caught in their family's web, decided to steer clear. At Noah's place, above his coffee shop, I started breathing easier. The cozy spot smelled of fresh coffee and wood. Noah gave me his fold-out couch, where I slept to the hum of the city. But the past wouldn't let go. On the third day, Jake, a mutual friend, texted. He'd heard from Sarah that I left for no reason, that she was suffering. He didn't accuse me, but hinted I should talk. Anger flared. Sarah was rewriting the story, making me the bad guy. I told Jake I knew the truth and to stay out of it. He backed off, but the bitterness lingered. How many friends would she turn? I checked social media. Sarah posted a sunset photo with a caption about pain and forgiveness. Her friends' comments were full of support, but I saw through the lies. Caitlin wrote about Sarah's strength, Emily about her heart. The same people who mocked me. I felt trapped in their game. Blocked her profile, but the thoughts didn't leave. She was building a victim narrative while I hid. It pissed me off, but the truth was on my side. I remembered Jake at our bar hangouts, praising Sarah, calling her a catch. Now I doubted his sincerity. Did he know something? Or was he just another pawn in her game? My circle of trust was shrinking. I decided to focus on myself. hung out with Noah at a bar, listened to live music, drank beer, smiled for the first time in days, but Sarah's shadow crept back. A few days later, the rumors grew. Ryan, a co-worker, mentioned hearing about our breakup from a friend. Sarah told someone I left over a misunderstanding. Ryan didn't push, but his tone was curious. Anger boiled. She wasn't just rewriting the story, she was spreading it. I told Ryan it was more complicated and changed the subject. But inside, I was raging. How far would her lies go? I checked with another friend, Matt, who knew Sarah. He confirmed she'd called him, crying, saying I left without explanation. Matt didn't fully buy it, but her tears shook him. I felt her weaving a net to isolate me. Told Matt I had proof, but kept it vague. He backed off, but I knew Sarah wouldn't stop. I remembered how she could manipulate. At parties, she charmed everyone with her easy smile and stories. Now that smile was weaponized against me. I felt under siege, decided not to play her game, focused on work, running, the gym. But every night, back at Noah's, her face haunted me. I knew I had to be stronger. A week later, Sarah found me. At Noah's. She tracked me through an app we'd set up for a California trip. Forgot to turn it off. My mistake. Noah told me she was there. I froze, but decided to face her. I was done running. Stepped out to the porch. She looked broken, pale dark circles under her eyes, wearing my old hoodie. She started talking, but I cut her off. Told her I knew about Lucas, the diary, her lies. She tried to explain. Confusion, a mistake, therapy after Miami for guilt. Her words were empty. She begged for a chance. Said she'd cut Caitlin out as a bridesmaid. Offered couples therapy. Promised to rebuild trust. I looked at her, feeling nothing but emptiness. Told her it was over. Not a pause. The end. She cried, but I walked inside and shut the door. Relief washed over me. I remembered her on the porch. Her tear-filled eyes were familiar. She'd looked like that when she shared stories of her tough childhood. Back then, I wanted to protect her. Now I saw manipulation. I felt freer, but the pain lingered. I knew she'd come back. I'd be ready. A month later, I rented an apartment in downtown Portland, a high-rise with panoramic windows where the city sparkled at night like scattered stars. The place was minimal, couch, table, bed, but it felt like freedom. Mornings, I sipped coffee on the balcony, watching the Willamette River reflect the gray sky, feeling life return to me. Work was going great. My team won a contract to build a new bridge over the Columbia River, a project set to be my proudest yet. Evenings, I hit the gym, the weight of the barbell silencing the past. I met Lindsay, a 28-year-old yoga teacher at the gym. Her calm confidence and easy smile were like fresh air after Sarah's storm. We went to small cafes, walked in parks, talked about books and travel. Nothing serious. But with her, there was no drama, no hidden agendas. But the past clung to me. One evening, as I reviewed bridge blueprints on my laptop, my phone buzzed. It was Tom, Sarah's dad. His name on the screen sent a chill through me. I hadn't spoken to him since canceling the wedding, and his call felt like trouble. I answered, muscles tensing. His voice was tired, almost broken, with a rasp I hadn't heard before. He said Sarah was in deep trouble. After our breakup, she didn't just keep talking to Lucas. She got pulled into his world deeper than I could have imagined. Lucas, the wild and unpredictable guy from her diary, wasn't just a fling. He was a con artist. He convinced her to invest her savings and some of her parents' money, $150,000, into his fake IT startup promising millions. He vanished, leaving her with an empty bank account, debts, and a ruined reputation with her family. Tom asked for advice, his words heavy with desperation. He mentioned Sarah stopped leaving the house, that Linda, her mom, wasn't sleeping, blaming herself for missing Sarah's issues. I listened, torn inside. Part of me wanted to brush it off. Sarah chose this path. Her mess wasn't my problem. But another part, the one that remembered Tom's kindness, his fishing lessons at Crater Lake, his proud smile showing off his Mustang, couldn't ignore him. I gave him contacts for a fraud lawyer and a financial advisor I'd worked with. Said I was sorry, but that was all I could do. Tom thanked me, his voice cracking, and I felt him holding back tears. After hanging up, I stared out the window at the city lights shimmering in the haze. I didn't feel smug, just a quiet sadness, like steady autumn rain. Sarah didn't just destroy our love, she wrecked her own life. Her choice, made long before Miami when she started flirting with Lucas, led to this mess. I remembered her diary, her words about him making her feel alive, now that life was emptiness. Did I feel guilty? Number. But deep down, a small voice wondered, did my silent exit push her closer to Lucas? I shook it off. She chose him long before I found the diary. Lucas wasn't a fluke. He was her illusion, her escape from reality. I thought of Tom and Linda, their suburban house smelling of apple pie and fresh-cut grass. Tom calling me son. Linda hugging me at Christmas, giving me a sweater she knitted. They were almost family. Now their voices were echoes from another life. Sarah took not just our love, but those connections too. I felt alone, despite the new apartment, job, life. Lindsay helped, but she was just a start, not filling the void completely. I knew I had to move on, but Tom's call dragged me back, like flipping through her diary again. I went to bed, but couldn't sleep. Lay there, staring at the ceiling where city lights danced. Thought about Sarah, maybe sitting in her room, surrounded by the wreckage of her life. Thought about Lucas, his cold calculation. Thought about myself, how I'd changed in a month. I wasn't the Ethan who planned a wedding anymore. That Ethan believed in unconditional love. Now I knew love needs truth, or it's just a mirage. 2 days later, I saw Sarah. She was on a bench outside my office, under a maple tree with yellowing leaves. Our company's building loomed in downtown Portland, its glass facade reflecting clouds, cars rushing over the Hawthorne Bridge nearby. I spotted her from a distance, heading out for lunch. She was hunched, wearing my old gray hoodie, looking like a stranger. I could have used another exit, avoided her. But something, tiredness of running, a need to close this chapter, made me walk over. She looked up as I stopped beside her. Her face was worn, pale, almost translucent skin, dull eyes with dark circles, hair in a messy bun. Without makeup, without her usual polish, she didn't look like the designer whose work made magazines. She was a shadow of herself. I stood there, the chilly fall wind cutting through my jacket. She knew about her dad's call, thanked me for helping Tom. Her words were soft, almost a whisper, but I felt sincerity mixed with pain. Then she admitted what I already knew, but didn't expect to hear so openly. Lucas wasn't just a mistake, not a fleeting crush. She fell for him, believing he was her real passion, her escape from the routine she tied to me. She called herself blind, said she lost everything to her own stupidity. She apologized, but it wasn't a plea for forgiveness. It was like she finally saw herself clearly. I looked at her, feeling nothing. No anger, no pain, no pity. Just a cold, clean emptiness, like a winter river. I told her I wished her well, but this wasn't my story anymore. She mentioned the ring, the 2-carat diamond I spent 3 months saving for, picturing her smile. She asked to return it, not for her, but to give to her parents to offset their losses. I said I didn't need it. She could do what she wanted with it. Turned and walked away, not looking back. My steps echoed, drowning out the city noise. The weight I'd carried for months lifted, like dropping a backpack after a long hike. Walking back to the office, I remembered buying that ring. The jewelry store downtown, the smell of polished wood, light bouncing off diamonds. I thought it was the start of our forever. Now the ring was a symbol of lies, an empty promise. I recalled her smile when I slipped it on her finger at the falls. Her hair smelled of lavender as she hugged me, and I thought it was eternal. Now I knew it was an illusion she broke long before that day. I felt relief, but sadness lingered, like fog over the river. Sarah was part of my life for 4 years. Her laugh, her singing in the shower, her sketches scattered on the table. Those were real until they weren't. I didn't hate her. She was a person who got lost, but her path no longer crossed mine. Back at the office, I opened the bridge blueprints, feeling work ground me. I was building a future, and it had no room for her shadows. That evening, on my balcony with a mug of tea, I thought about her, not the Sarah who betrayed me, but the one I loved. The girl who laughed at my jokes, cried at movies, dreamed of a house by the ocean. Where did she go? Why didn't I see her slipping away? Those questions had no answers, but I knew I had to let them go. Life moved on, and I was ready to move with it. 3 months later, my Portland apartment felt like home. Mornings, I ran along the waterfront, the cold air clearing my lungs. Days, I worked on the Columbia River Bridge, its steel beams rising over the water, a symbol of my fresh start. Evenings, I hung out with Lindsay. We biked through Mount Tabor Park, hiked the Columbia Gorge where waterfalls roared like nature's voice. She was calm. No need to pretend with her. I told her my story, keeping it light. She listened without judgment, without pushing. Her presence was a warm light at the end of a tunnel. I wasn't rushing, didn't want new promises, but with her, I felt hope that trust was possible again. Sarah texted sometimes, short apologies sent late at night when I was asleep. I didn't reply, not out of anger or revenge, just no point. I heard from mutual friends she moved back with her parents, trying to rebuild her career. Her design studio took a hit from the debts, but she was taking small gigs, slowly climbing back. I didn't feel satisfaction at her struggles, but I didn't pity her either. She made her choice, and I made mine. Work became my anchor. The Columbia Bridge grew, its silhouette shaping Portland's skyline, and I was proud my calculations and designs were becoming steel and concrete. Colleagues joked I was obsessed, but I knew it wasn't obsession. It was reclaiming myself. Every morning on the construction site, watching cranes lift beams, I felt like I was building not just a bridge, but a new life. I thought of Sarah less. Her image, laughing, hair in the wind, faded like an old photo. Sometimes, in quiet moments, I wondered what would have happened if I hadn't found the diary. Would I have stayed? Married her, blind to the truth? That thought scared me, but I knew the truth, painful as it was, saved me. I learned love isn't just feelings. It's trust, respect, honesty. Without those, it's a mirage that vanishes in the wind. Don't be afraid to walk away when you're betrayed. Don't let lies define your life. I looked out at the city from my balcony, feeling the breeze carry away the last of the past. Ahead was a life. Not perfect, but mine. Have you ever been through something like this? Share your story in the comments.